Yes, welcome everyone to another edition of the best Spurs squad of our lifetime. Today we've got Jose from LTL Cockerell on. Nice to see you, Jose. How are you, sir?
Yeah, I'm all good, lads. I'm all good. It's the weather's getting better. I hope so. But this morning I don't feel too bad. I feel kind of good, and it's nice to be on with two generational gentlemen like yourselves. As we've been talking backstage, it's been like, who's the oldest and how old are we and stuff like that. So yeah, so it's been great. It's been great. It's nice to be on with you guys, and yeah, it's going to be a bit of a chore to pick this best team of my lifetime because I've swapped and changed so much.
Yeah.
For different reasons. So yeah, I'm looking forward to it, guys. Looking forward to it.
Brilliant. Sheriff, you okay, mate? How you been doing? I know you've been at work. How are you on the old night shift?
That's all good, man. It's all good. It's all good, man. You know, I mean, we were. This is the elderly statesman show, I think. And we've already discovered Jose is the oldest out of all of us by 1 day.
Yep.
By 1 day.
Certainly
One
is.
day. Crazy.
Excellent stuff. Brilliant. Fantastic. Can't wait for this one. Jose, we're going to crack in. We'll get Mark to bring the pitch up.
Here we go. There
Brilliant.
you go.
So Jose's gone for a 3-1-4-2 as his formation today. I don't know if we've had that one before, actually, Mark, but it's looking good on there. We'll get straight into it, Jose. So can you tell us, Jose, the goalkeeper of your lifetime for Spurs, please?
Right, I've had a choice of goalkeepers, obviously, because you know my age. So I had a choice of goalkeepers, and it's a difficult one to start off with because I've got a goalkeeper that I've ended up choosing that I only saw for a couple of years. Yeah. But then I've got notable mentions for other goalkeepers that we've had, some of them that have been with us for 10 years. So my noticeable mentions are going to be, we had Hugo Lloris, World Cup winner, was with us for nearly 10 years. He doesn't make my starting spot, but I've got to mention him. The great Ray Clemence also is there, and I've got to give him a noticeable mention, and he hasn't made my first 11 either. And this goalkeeper has made my first 11. I only saw him for a couple of years, but he had, for me, I always called him shovel hands.
Yeah,
he had the biggest hands in the world, and he played in an era. See, the difficulty is when you're selecting these teams is that you've got all slick pitches now, but if you go back in time, the pitches weren't as slick and stuff like that. So with the goalkeeper and the balls that they played with back in them days as well, how he came out and commanded his box, and he won absolutely everything. He'd go through strikers. He was elegant. He could throw the ball out as far as he could kick it. You know, he was just an elegant goalkeeper. Never wore. I don't remember him wearing gloves either. That's why I called him shovel hands. I don't ever recall him wearing gloves. I don't know whether many people wore gloves back in them times because I don't remember keepers doing it. But my goalkeeper has got to be the legendary Pat Jennings.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I knew when you were rattling them off, I thought I bet he's gone for Pat.
I only saw him for a couple of years. Like I said, he left us in 77. I know he came back, but he left us in 77. So I only saw him for a couple of years.
Yeah.
I started supporting and watching and actually watching players from about 76 is when I first went. So, you know, at the end of the day, it's lifetime. It's got to be players that I've picked players that I've seen play, not players that would have been around that I haven't seen in my lifetime. So Jennings takes it for me. But as I said, the other two keepers get a notable mention.
Yeah,
I think they used to wear sort of cloth gloves at the time, didn't they? They were only thin little things.
Yeah, but they used to have pimples on them on the hand. But I don't think I ever saw Pat Jennings wear gloves when I watched him play. So, and it was in an era when goalkeepers didn't wear gloves. I don't recall them all wearing gloves back in the mid 70s. Maybe late 70s they probably started wearing them. But I don't recall mid 70s. I don't recall Pat Jennings playing for Tottenham with gloves on, and that could be me being senile. But that's what my thought process is that I don't remember him wearing gloves. So
I was going to say he had no gloves, but he could catch a ball with one hand.
He was different. It was different gravy. And as I said, on the pitches that I used to play on, the balls were harder because of the pitches, because they weren't lawns, were they, back in the day?
Nah.
No,
They weren't like
no.
bowling greens like they are now. And yeah, he, as I said, I remember him pinpoint accuracy with his kicks, but I remember his throw was as long as his kicks as well.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and football was different then because you could pass back to a goalkeeper back in the mid-70s, and you know there's been rule changes since then. But Pat Jennings, for me, he sticks out like a sore thumb.
Yeah. I remember going to White Hart Lane in the 70s, and especially in the winter, there was more sand on the pitch than there was grass. It almost looked like a beach.
Yeah.
Yeah, superb choice, Jose. Absolute legend of Tottenham Hotspur. I've got to say that. Fantastic. Excuse me. Okay, Jose, we'll move on to your back three, and we'll start off with your left-hand side of your back three, please.
Right. I've the nod and the nod and the nod, and I've had to fit players in to make this team work. So my first centre half of the back three that I'm going to go for, I only saw him play for 1 year at Tottenham. 1 year only I saw him play, and I thought he was an absolute monster. And a bit like Yapstam at Man United later on, he was only there for a short period of time. I thought that he was an absolute worldie of a footballer, and I don't think he gets enough recognition. And for me, my first centre half has got to be big Richard Gough.
Oh yeah, he was superb for us when he came in, Jose. When he very commanding, he was fantastic, wasn't he?
He was tough as nails. He could win the ball in the air, but he was also so cultured at the time on the floor as well. He was really good. Distribution was good, and a leader of men as well. At the time, and I've denied to try and fit three centre halves. I've had to deny, but for me, it was only one season he played for us, but I'll always recall Goughy and the season he played, and I just, it's just, I wish we'd saw more of him, than that one season. So Richard, my centre half. I denied it. It's Goughy that I'm going to go for there.
It's difficult,
I was going to say,
isn't it? It's so difficult. As we said on one of the videos before, when because we're a bit older, mid-50s and a bit more, we've got such an array of players to pick.
Yeah.
And it's so difficult to shoehorn them all in. It is difficult. Very, really, really difficult. Okay, mate, that's a great choice.
In my personal opinion, though, Richard Gough was made look better by his partner. That's only my opinion. That may be biased. That may be a bit biased.
Goughy was quality. Goughy was quality.
He was. He definitely.
Goughy for me was quality. And as I said, I wish we'd seen more of him and not just that one season.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Him and certain other bloke were brilliant.
Good stuff. We'll move on, Jose, to the middle one of your centre halves, mate, please.
This will make more sense when you see my team line up a bit later, but my middle centre half has gone to one knee Ledley.
Oh, yes.
So even if these three boys are marking players, or even if it's just Gough and the right centre half marking players, and King becomes a spare man, King can move into midfield if he needs to from there. But Ledley King, what a player! Everyone's going to repeat about Ledley King. For years and years, he only had one knee, so he never played. He only ever trained ever so lightly. I've heard you say, it was a lot of it was aerobic. I can't remember what they called it, but in the swimming pool, so it was all swimming pool therapy and stuff like that, or aerobics in this pool or whatever. So and every time. I dread to think whether he was playing on painkillers as well and stuff like that, because he was just one of these players that just got on with it, never moaned about it. Never, ever did I ever hear him say that he was dealt a rough hand in football because of his knee and that. He just came out and he just looked like a Rolls Royce of a defender every time he played. I've heard people say it before. You're going to hear it again. It's going to be a rinse and repeat with this player, but You know, he was good enough to play in central midfield as well. I think there was a lot of players in either centre half or in centre midfield at the time. But when he was selected for England, he played in both positions as well for his country. And you know, if he didn't have this injury, then how much more would he have gone on and done? And if he was a player in today's game, with the advances in medical treatments and that, you would have probably got King sorted out a lot quicker, and you probably would have got King out on the pitch and maybe more training, and it may have led to more international caps now with all the advances in medical treatment. But you know, at the end of the day, he had a stellar career, one-man club, stellar career, and you know, he's now still with us as an ambassador. And yeah, for me, he was just a Rolls Royce of a defender.
He's called King for a reason.
Yeah, speed in the air, comfortable bringing the ball out. Yeah, good ball playing centre half. 2 of my 3, I think, are good ball playing centre half. So you know, at the end of the day, they're not going to get stuck with the ball at their feet. So,
and I've started saying this because we've done quite a few of these now. If there's one man I think that's definitely guaranteed to be in the final team when we do the big show at the end, that's the man. I think nearly everybody's picked him.
Yeah, it's looking like that at the moment.
Yeah, it certainly is.
It goes along, but he's definitely more than a popular choice, is our Ledley. Yeah. And so
deservedly so. Deservedly.
Yeah, so it should be. Yeah, fantastic player, Jose. Great pick.
Yeah.
Excuse me. We'll move along again, Jose, to your right-sided centre half, please, sir.
So, as I said, there's a lot of centre halves to choose from, and I had to plump for 3 of them in the end. My third one, and you're talking about the best team and not what your thoughts are about certain players and that and attributes and whatever. But for me, the third player that would complement these 2 is a player that played for us for a while but left us under a cloud. People don't seem to let it go, but I'm talking about in footballing terms and picking the best 11. My third centre half is Sol Campbell.
Yeah, I'm not sure I can write his name in there.
Yeah, I've got to put Sol Campbell in there because I used to go to White Hart Lane when he was playing for us, and I used to sing, "You'll never beat Sol Campbell."
Yeah.
Sol Campbell was so quick. Sol Campbell was a beast. And, you know, we never got to see much of King and Campbell playing together.
No.
But if they were the 2 centre halves for us, you know, and the times are aligned, we wouldn't have leaked any goals with them 2. And it doesn't matter who your fullbacks were, because we used to play 4-4-2. Doesn't matter who your fullbacks were, you would not leak goals with King and Campbell at the back. There is pure in there. There's strength, there's pace, and there's guile in having these 3 at the back. And as my team adapts, because I had to pick a team and put players in that I wanted to be in the side, it makes sense to play 3 at the back. The team I've gone for. But yeah, I mean, it may not be a popular choice because some people are deep rooted and, you know, see the way that he left and, you know, stuff like that. But I think that, you know, without getting into the politics of it all, there's more than one side to a story. And I think a lot of people beat Campbell big time. But I think that the club at the time had a big part to play with this because I think they messed him around. So, you know, at the end of the day, however you lie with this and whatever, I'm talking on football ability alone. And I'm not talking about what happened, but football ability alone, Campbell's got to be in my team.
The thing is, Jose, with Sol, if he wasn't so good, people wouldn't, should we say, dislike him so much. If he was an average player, people would have said, oh, well, you know, stuff happens. You know, because he was so good, that's why people still, what we're talking now, 30 years ago, 25?
Yeah.
You know, it's just never been forgotten because he was that damn good.
But Pat Jennings was really good, and Pat Jennings went to Arsenal.
He did.
Well, yeah.
Pat Jennings still works for
Yeah.
the club at the moment, and he's not maligned the same way Campbell is. I think
No.
that Campbell was a victim of circumstance at the time, and
Yeah.
all I've got to say is there's more than one way to skin a cat, and I think that a lot of people, and everyone's entitled to their own opinion. A lot of people were against Campbell and the way he left, but I feel that Campbell did leave, but I still feel that in the politics of it all, I still think the club had a part to play in this. So for me, if you want your player, you secure them early. You don't have to wait for lastminute.com and then, for it to happen the way it did. But we're picking a team on footballing ability.
Yeah.
Ability. I'm not looking at politics for footballing ability. The man wore our shirt. The man played with us for a fair number of years before he left us. And he was a genuinely quality player.
Yeah.
And he would have walked into any Premiership team. So it doesn't matter whether you like him or loathe him, he would get into any Premiership team.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that, Jose. Yeah, he was
begrudgingly, I agree.
Yeah.
No, but he was great.
Yeah. Yeah, brilliant, mate. Fantastic back three you've got there, Jose. So we'll move on, mate. We notice you've got the old number 6 in there. So we'll go there next, Jose, please.
Okay, so the number 6. So for my team, as it can be seen, it can be a 3-1-4-1-1. It can be a 3-1-4-2. It can be a 3-5-2. It doesn't matter how you mix it about. I've just put players into this side that I wanted to be in the team. And I've left a lot of players out begrudgingly as well that I could have put in here. When you start thinking about it, the 11 that I've picked, I could have picked 3 11s for you.
Yeah.
That's how, or I could probably could have picked the 4th as well. We've had that good players in my lifetime. But for me, the holding midfielder, or not the holding midfielder, but the one in the 6, one in the engine room for me is the one and only Moussa Dembele.
Oh, yes.
I had a feeling you were going to say that as well.
Moussa Dembele is one of the most underrated footballers ever that I've ever seen in my lifetime. Not just at Tottenham, but underrated from a lot of people. I've actually got a thought process that I think that until it became too late or towards the end and not in the first couple of years, he was appreciated more, I think, by rival supporters than what he was by his own supporters. Until, you actually saw probably his last couple of seasons and then you thought to yourself, wow, what a player we've got on our hands. But Dembele could do it all, couldn't he? I mean, he had vision. He had a wand of a left foot. He could get in and out of tight spaces. He'd win the ball. He never fouled much. He would win the ball cleanly. He'd go to the ball and he'd come out with the ball. Do you see what I mean? For me, he was just an absolute monster of a player that doesn't get the recognition still that I think he deserves. But when you ask, I mean, apart from my own opinion, when you ask the pros that played with him or played against him, and you say, can you pick a rival 11 or pick your best 11? More often than not, Dembele's going to be in there. And this is the pros talking. I'm not a pro, just a supporter of the club and a fan of football. And for me, Dembele's in there, but even the people that are in the know, they'll always put Dembele there as well.
Yeah.
Another very popular choice.
Yeah,
and I think I might have made this up, but I'm sure I read it. There was a stat that he never got dispossessed in a match for something like 18 months, 2 years. He just never lost the ball, ever. I've never seen someone so graceful moving across the pitch without losing the ball, It just, as soon as he had the ball, that was his, and you weren't having it. He beat people, he chilled the ball. Absolutely fantastic. To be honest, can you imagine if he'd have played in 2019 and we hadn't sold him?
Yeah.
I remember him, very skillful player. But my main memory of him is how he shielded the ball all the time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Even if he was running with it, he could feel people coming. He knew which way to turn away to shield the ball and protect it. And he was brilliant at that. He was fantastic.
Yeah, he had it all as well. And he was he's a central player, but he could drop his shoulder as well.
Yeah.
So when he was gliding through or when he was going with the ball, carrying the ball, he'd drop his shoulder and twist and turn the other way. So he had all the attributes as well with the dropping the shoulders now. You'd think he was a fucking winger.
Yeah.
He was, for me, he was a complete player. And he was, and he would walk. For me, he'd walk into any side now as well.
Yes,
he's another one of those that would walk into any side now. So if you're looking for your, I mean, to me, I don't agree with 6, 8, 10s and all that. And for me, you're attacking midfielder, central midfielder, defensive midfielder. For me, you're a midfielder. But if you are going to talk about this number 6 player, then Bailey's royalty.
Yeah.
How we could do with him now.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we could. Or someone like him anyway.
Yeah.
Even someone half the player of him would do at the moment, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll move on, Jose. We move on to the main part of your midfield, and we move on to your left-sided midfielder, please.
I think the 4 across the middle, I think, are going to be selected by most people, to be honest.
Okay.
But number 2 is Ouh la la, Vive la France. It's David Ginola. It's interesting because I've had to. There's other players that I could have picked on the left, but just to make this team click and work, I've had to jiggle. And Ginola is on the left hand side. Ginola, top. I mean, it's been said in every show so far that I've seen so far, and I think it's going to be said in every single one before mine comes out. Is that what can you not, or you can wax lyrical about Ginola all the time. He was an absolute dream to watch, wasn't he? I mean, if you had to pay your 25 quid at the time or whatever to go to Tottenham, the entry fee alone was worth it just by watching Ginola. And it was just unkind on the other 10 players on the pitch, but Ginola was stardust, weren't he? He was stardust in the team. And we got Ginola later on in footballing terms, but he was still a heck of a player when we got him. He'd had his falling out with France by the time we got him. Yeah. He wasn't being selected nationally anymore. But he was a top player. And I don't know. It's weird because nowadays people say, Tottenham don't attract players, blah, blah, blah. But if we look at some of the players that are in these lineups that we all select from our lifetimes, you'll think to yourself, well, we did attract players because Ginola came to us. Ginola could look for any club. And, when he left Newcastle, could have gone to any club, but he came to us. And, for the 2, 3, 4 years that he was with us, he was absolutely, he's worth the entry fee alone. He was superb. He dropped his shoulder. You knew what he was going to do. I used to think he was so clever because defenders knew what he was going to do, but you couldn't stop him from doing it. Yeah. So if he was going to throw his shoulder, you said, when the triggers come, he's going to throw his shoulder to the right. Right, you knew he was going to do it, but he'd do it, and he'd still get the ball past you, and you'd think, "But I knew he was going to do that." Yeah. So we as fans knew what was going to happen. I think players knew what was going to happen, but they just couldn't stop him from doing it. But
double player of the year in a very average Tottenham team.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm being unkind to the rest of the team, but he was worth the fee alone just to go.
I agree with you, Jose. Agree with you totally. He was something else, Ginola, for Spurs. Brilliant stuff. We move on to your next one, Jose. The left-sided of your central midfield, please.
Well, he's got the number 8 there already, and there's only ever been 1-8 at Tottenham.
I've put it in already.
Yeah, there's only been 1-8 at Tottenham in my eyes. So I mean, the amount of joy that he gave us when he came to our club and when we saw him play, he was rash at times. We know this, but that's what made him who he was. Unadulterated Gazza was Gazza. You got what you got with Gazza, and you had to put up with everything that he did. But on the pitch, he was a fucking magician, wasn't he? He's a maestro on the pitch. He could conduct there's 3 players in my team, I reckon, I've got here through the 8, 7, and 10 that could conduct an orchestra, and Gazza was one of the 3 for me. So if I had to have the 3 tenors, so to speak, Gazza's one of my 3 at the moment that would have been, he could conduct the orchestra. He was a brilliant player, sublime. I mean, for the youngsters now, and when I mean the youngsters now, anyone born in the 90s or mid 90s onwards, even the youngest people that were born in early 2000s, that see football it is now. Football wasn't like that way back then. No. I feel that with the team that I've selected, and with some of the players that I've selected, we can only go on memories that they used to play this way, because football for me now is you don't get these type of players anymore. For me now is all players are players, all players are the same, and players are picked for systems, so they're system players and not original players, you know, and people get stifled. So you could have young players coming through that are absolutely bossing it and are absolutely, you know, magical on the ball and stuff like that. But when they come into the first team and that, I think they're stifled and they're told to play a certain way, which I think is ruin the game. But yeah, when you look at my orchestrators, and Gazza's one of the three that I've got here. I mean, you could say Ginola's an orchestrator. I'm not even calling Ginola an orchestrator. I'm saying that my orchestrators are 8, 7, and 10. And, you know, but you would see as the lineup produces. But yeah, Gazza, there's not much more we can say. We will all remember the goal in the semi-final against Villa that you scored. We'll all remember, you know, the FA Cup final and stuff like that. But there's other games. But in the normal games, when you had to play in the midweek in the League Cup and on a shit bog pitch and all that, Gazza would still show up and play. And the skill that he had with both feet carrying the ball in the mudlark pitches, because we didn't play on lawns, believe it or not, for you youngsters, we never played on lawns that you play on nowadays. We played on, I used to call them bomb sites. We played on, and skill that this man had, he could carry the ball left and right with power, with pace. He could use guile. He was just absolutely brilliant. As I said, he was an orchestrator. He was brilliant.
When a player gets a mania named after him and the whole country takes him to their heart, then you know you've got a special player. As in 1990 Italia, when the whole country fell in love with Gazza, not just Tottenham fans. I'm on about every football fan.
Yeah, there was a period of time when we sold him. We sold him for back in them days, it would have been decent money. And when he was sold to Lazio paid a pretty penny, and there were not many people back in them days that could afford the package that was given to Gazza.
Yeah.
Because otherwise Gazza could have gone anywhere, because he was truly a world-class player. So
but he was known the worldwide just for Italia 90. The whole country, the whole world fell in love with Gazza. And that just says a lot about the man. I'm sure the one I'm thinking of is going to be in there anyway, but he's the second best player I've ever seen play for us.
I just class him as a superstar of his time. He was just brilliant. Like Jose said, he's just you can't throw enough superlatives at him, can you? He's just amazing.
He'd get into any Premiership team now as well.
Oh, yeah.
If you could pick and lift some of these players, right, then Gazza, you could pick and lift him. You could play him now, and he'll play for any of the. Doesn't matter what Premiership team's in the Premiership at the moment. He gets into a Premiership team right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, easily.
Yeah, definitely, Jose. He was. Well, you can say they're all legends at the end of the day, aren't they? But we all have our players in our time that we think are special, but he was definitely one of them. He was, like I say, he was something else. Gazza.
Different gravy.
Great stuff, Jose. It's looking good, this team, I've got to say.
Yes.
We'll move on, sir, to your right-sided central midfielder, your number 7, please.
He's Le. I'm going to call him Le, because everyone else seems to be using French disparities. I'm going to call him Le God.
This is the player that is the best I've seen.
He is the king of White Hart Lane. Is Le God Hoddle. What can I say?
Jose, can you tell, especially for the youngsters? Sorry for interrupting.
Yeah,
you saw Hoddle play like I did.
Yeah,
a lot for Spurs. Can you just sort of try and explain? Because I struggle with the words with this. You might do this a bit better than me. Can you tell a lot of the younger fans what Glenn Hoddle was all about? And stuff about him, do you know what I mean, on the pitch?
Yeah. So back in the day when we started, when the three of us on screen, and possibly before that as well, people that are older than us as well, there was a period of time that England and English teams and the English national team would play a 4-4-2.
Mm-hmm.
And the 4-4-2 would always be two dogged midfielders in the centre of midfield. Didn't necessarily have to be creative, but they were dogged. The two players out wide would be wingers. So there'd be players that would attack the fullbacks. And then you had, whether you had two big men up front or a little and large up front, you always pumped the ball. And the ball was normally played long in English football, or it was deemed to be that was long. I mean, most teams played like that, or were perceived to play like that. But then teams like Liverpool broke the mould in the mid-70s where they played football from the back. This is when the goalkeeper could pick the ball up and roll it out, or you could pass back to the goalkeeper and he could pass it back to the defender. So football, when I started playing football, and I started playing football myself in the mid-70s, we played always from the back. Your attacks and your football always started from the back. So what you would normally have, like I said, in midfield, you'd have two dogged midfielders. There are players of note. So if I go back and I could tell you someone like Rodney Marsh, Frank Worthington, even for Arsenal, Liam Brady, you had Glenn Hoddle, you had players that didn't fit this mould. You had players that played in certain positions didn't fit this mould. And these players would do things that were different. And at the time, a lot of people deemed these players to be luxury players. But then when you looked at Spain, you looked at Italy, you looked at Germany, you looked at all the national sides, they all had players that in England we would say are their luxury players. Yeah. But they were world class, they were mavericks, they were footballers, they were great footballers. Hoddle played in an era, again, we didn't play on lawns, we didn't play on carpets. Hoddle played in an era where Hoddle, I don't even know what Hoddle, I couldn't tell you which was Hoddle's strongest foot, because Hoddle could caress the ball with a left or a right. Hoddle would play football at his pace. He wasn't electric, he wasn't super quick. He played football at his pace, and he'd an orchestrator. He would dictate all the play as well. And this is what I'm saying. I've got 3 orchestrators in my team. In Gazza, Hoddle, and my number 10, I believe, can be an orchestrator as well. But these players would play, and they played football that was different. They would play football that was advanced for their time, so to speak. And people would say, yeah, he's a fancy Dan and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think that you don't know what you've got until it's gone, so to speak. And with Hoddle, as I said, I'm not going to say the Tottenham fan base, but with a lot of rivals or with a lot of the professionals, they were like, yeah, he's just a luxury player that you've got there. But he was absolutely brilliant. He was before his time, is what I'm going to say.
Yeah. I've said on many shows, if Glenn came from Europe, he'd have had 150, 200 caps for his country easily.
If you played for a foreign team,
yeah. If you come from Spain, France,
if you played for
Italy,
if you played for a foreign national team, you would have had far more caps.
Oh, a lot, yeah.
But he was absolutely brilliant. Like I said, he was an orchestrator, left or right foot. He could do the hold. He could play the holding role if you needed to.
Yeah. There's a reason he's called the King of White Hart Lane.
He could play an attacking role if you needed to. He could, he'd do whatever was needed. He'd always find space. He'd always find time. And I'm talking on pitches that were like bomb sites, quagmires, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. Allotments.
He found time. He was graceful on the ball. His first touch was it's different class. He could pull a ball out from the sky and trap it straight down on a 6. The geezer was absolutely brilliant. Now, as I said, he was before his time. So it's not only when he was in his playing career, but then in his managerial career as well, when he became manager of England, he was doing things before his time. He was doing things in the England national team, and people were like, what are you doing? It's like another manager we had at Tottenham. We were lucky. We had another England manager who went on to manage England at Tottenham as well. He was before his time as well. At the end of the day, Hoddle was you just got to see, he was sublime in everything that he did. He was poetry in motion, Hoddle. He was absolutely, he's absolutely brilliant. He was not only great himself, but he made players around him look a lot better than what they were perceived as well. Hoddle raised the bar, so to speak. And in Hoddle, he played in many, many Tottenham sides that people would turn around and say weren't great sides. So, when you look at the mid-70s, we were struggling. We were struggling team. We went down in '76, and Hoddle, Hoddle played in some sides that if you had more of a higher caliber of player around him, then maybe we could have seen Hoddle in some more winning teams than what he actually was. But
in my opinion, the greatest I've seen at our club, the greatest. End of story. Full stop. He is the greatest player that I've seen at our club.
Yeah, I agree.
Without a shadow.
Definitely agree. Thank you for that, Jose, for that explanation. I do appreciate that. Sometimes I try and talk about it, mate, and I can't get my words out properly, what I want to say. Do you know what I mean?
It's not about talking. All people have got to do is go back. Nowadays, you're full of social media and shit.
Yeah.
You can obviously go into YouTube or wherever you want to go and just ask for compilation of Glenn Hoddle and then just watch it. Let's just watch him. So if you want to learn, just watch him.
Yeah, great. Brilliant choice, Jose. Thank you very much for that one.
Right, to fit the right-hand sided player, I had to fit him, and I fitted him in because although he was a left-footed player, predominantly left-footed, he could cut him from the right, and he would cut him from the right, and he'd score some bangers. And he is Gareth Bale.
Oh yeah,
I had a feeling that was coming as well, but he did play on the right for us as well.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, although he's predominantly left-footed, he would cut in. He was on the right and cutting onto the left, and he would unleash, wouldn't he? Gareth Bale at Tottenham for the last 2 years that he was at Tottenham, he frightened the whole world. Doesn't matter who he played against, he frightened the whole world. And
Taxi for Maicon. Taxi for Maicon is all you got to say.
There's no surprise. There's no surprise whatsoever that Real Madrid came in to buy and purchase Bale. And when Bale went to Real Madrid, Bale was actually converted from a wide player, so to speak, that he played for us into what you could say was either a 9 or a false 9, or he played 10, or he played up front. So he actually changed his game, and he bulked up and got even bigger when he went to Madrid, body mass size and stuff like that. But Bale would scare anyone. Bale flying with the ball at pace, and to keep the ball so close to his feet. It was poetry. Again, another player, poetry in motion. We've been blessed at the club to have some of these players that were in this team. We've been so blessed. But Gareth Bale, he frightened. It doesn't matter who you played against. He frightened the living daylights out of every opponent that you ever played against. And
again, Jose, taxi for Maicon.
Yeah, but you see, the thing is, when he had the ball, Bale, you could put 3 players on him, but you still couldn't stop him. So, at the end of the day, all these football clubs are professional clubs, and they do their homework, and they do their setting up against their opponents, and you do your strengths, weaknesses, or your pros and cons of playing against someone. And it doesn't matter who was marking Bale. It doesn't matter what you did to Bale. Bale would still have that touch of stardust. He'd get past you, unleash. He set up people for goals as well. But you could see, how many goals did you recall Bale scoring with his right foot? Because I don't recall seeing many at all. I always saw, and I always remember his left foot getting on the end of things. I've seen him score some scrappy goals. I've seen him score worldies. But
I can think of one, Jose.
Go on then.
That volley against, was it Stoke away? When it comes over and he volleys it from about shoulder level.
That was left-footed.
Yeah, I was going to say.
I thought that was his right.
No, that was left-footed.
I must be delirious.
As I said, he used to score. I can't ever recall many goals that Bale scored with his right foot. I can't, at the moment, recall of any. But I'm sure that someone's going to say, yeah, there was. But then, I'm casting my mind out, and I can't remember. But Bale was absolutely brilliant. When he came to us, he was at left back, or we bought him supposedly as a hybrid left. And, there's all that. We didn't win for a certain amount of games every time Bale started.
Yeah.
He was tagged with that for ages, but bloody hell did he break them tags. He broke that tag, and that tag never, ever, ever came back. I think it got quashed, or it got crushed and never came back. And he ended up being an absolutely gem of a player. He was played in different positions gradually as he got bigger, stronger, more composed, more at ease of playing first team football. His glide path just went like that, didn't it? He just went up. And again, at the end of the day, no surprise, that someone like Madrid paid the kind of money they did, and he went on to have a sterling career at Madrid, winning all them European cups. But I'm not going on what players did when I left Tottenham. I'm going on the players that were playing for Tottenham.
Yeah.
So I retract that statement. It was his left foot. It definitely was. I've thought about it now. Yes, it was.
So people will say, wait, Modric is not in my team. Modric has gone on to become World Player of the Year. Modric has gone on to win loads of stuff. But at Tottenham, if I have to I can't fit Modric in my three. Gazza, Hoddle, and Dembele for reasons that I'm saying at the moment, and for the team that I'm selecting, and for the balance, Modric can't get into this side. But Modric went on to become. But Bale went on to become. But Bale was also at our club a great player. So that's why Bale's there.
Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. Fantastic, Jose. Right, we'll move on now to your number 10, Jose, I think.
The orchestrator, the third orchestrator in my team is a player that only played for us for a couple of years. And he was the most unflustered player that I've seen at our club. You could do whatever you wanted, and he just seemed to do everything at his own pace, in his own gear, in his own time. His first touch would rival Hoddle. In his first touch. His first touch was absolute cream. He'd score goals for fun. He'd make them look easy when he scored them. And as an assister, he would be able, in this team that I've got at the moment, fluid team, he would be able to assist and score goals. And there's no surprise for me either. We scouted this player. This player's come to us, and then he's been sold on after a couple of years to another club where he went on to win league titles and stuff like that. But for me, it's the 10. And I had players to pick for these positions, and I've left that people like Sheringham and that. Yeah. And I've gone for Dimitar Berbatov as my 10.
Yeah.
I nearly typed it in, but I didn't want to.
Yeah, Dimitar Berbatov is my 10. This team for me is fluid. It's completely fluid. I've got 3 orchestrators in there, but I had to pick someone. And I'm going to say Sheringham was a superb player for Tottenham as well. He could have played. Sheringham did play the 10 role for us. He played the main striker role for us. But for me, Berbatov always. I mean, I watched Berbatov not long ago in the Legends game.
Yeah.
He's still got it, Annie. He's still got it.
Best player in the park by a country mile. Yeah. He made everything look so simple, and he was just. He was just, and he was playing with ex-pros of different ages and whatever, and you could see on the pitch that he was probably getting frustrated, thinking, "Why aren't people on my level?" Because he seemed to be still now levels above everyone else, and he expected everyone around him to do things and do his. People used to do Berbatov's running for him.
Yeah, they did.
Yeah,
you just give Berbatov the ball, and Berbatov was a magician. So for me, to make this team work and fluctuate and that, I've had to put in Berbatov as my 10. But
Berbatov's been another popular choice, right? And I always say everyone used to call him lazy, but he never had to run around. He never had to, because he was that damn good. He didn't have to run about. You could fire the ball at him at 100 mile an hour, bang, straight at his foot.
Yeah.
Straight at his foot. His touch was phenomenal.
So Hoddle was the same. Hoddle was deemed to be a luxury player. Berbatov, another one that's deemed to be a luxury player. So out of the 3 that I've got there that are my orchestrators, Gazza is probably the more harder working player than Berbatov and Hoddle. But Gazza was a world-class footballer as well. He could get past people left or right as well. So, I need someone to score goals or feed the machine. And for me, that's Berbatov. Like I said, everyone's got opinions, but I'm sticking Berbatov in there.
And that's what it's all about, mate. Different opinions, different everything. People are picking what is their lifetime. So at the end of it all, like I've said before, Jose, it'll all go in. We'll work it all out, and we'll work out the best team of all you YouTubers. That's what we're going to do. So, Jose, you are nearly there. One more. Your number 9, please, sir.
I think I can't see a team without this player. And the only reason why I say it is because he is our top goal scorer of all time. And I just don't think he gets enough credit. I mean, this is a chap who has had to do the hard yards. He had to do the hard yards. He was kept getting sent out on loan, and for his development and the loans that he went on, they weren't spectacular. They weren't great. They weren't nothing to write home about. You never got, oh, Kane's been on loan and he scored 15 goals on loan. He never did that. But what he did for his development, it made him learn about first team football at different clubs. And then he's come back, and obviously he's matured. He's come back a better player for the loans, even though he didn't score all the goals. And he was then given that opportunity when we probably had a team of players back then, when he was given the opportunity, that thought that they were better than what they were. And the manager in Sherwood said, nah, I'm throwing him in. So forget your Adebayors and your Soldados and your players like that. I'm going to throw him in. He wasn't the only player that's thrown in, but you either sink or swim when you come in. And Kane swam. Where others might sank, Kane swam. And Kane's gone on, you know, and whether you like it or not, Kane is our top goal scorer. He might not be as sexy as some of the other players. I mean, you had Jurgen Klinsmann there, you had Sheringham, you had Defoe, you've got bloody Keane, Archibald, Crooks. I mean, I'm going back to players. You know, you go back to all these players, but none of them scored the goals that Kane scored. And I just feel that Kane, in a team that's feeding him consistently, and I think this team feeds Kane, Kane will score even more goals. But the goals would be spread, but Kane would get more goals if he had these people feeding. When you look at the teams that Tottenham have had while Kane's been in the side, even before Poch came, right? You look at and you think to yourself, you're surprised about how many goals he actually got, because who fed him? Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of goals. Kane would make goals out of his own as well.
Yeah.
Stuff. But if you feed him, he's scoring goals as well. And I don't know. I just think that people. There seems to be a recent bias against Kane, but I just don't feel that Kane gets. Again, you don't know what you've got until you've lost it, type thing. Yeah. Kane is world class. He has to be, because of the amount of goals he scored for club and country.
Yeah,
you know, people.
The only two words I've got to say for Harry: ultimate professional.
Yeah, people might turn
around. Back pages, never on the front page.
Yeah, people would turn around and say that that Kane didn't turn up in a couple of matches for Tottenham. All right, you know, granted, he probably didn't have his best game in a couple of matches for Tottenham, but you don't score the amount of goals that he scored and not be a legend of the club.
Yeah.
You know, he went past the great Jimmy Greaves on goal scoring, and obviously Greaves was before my time. So how could I can't see a world that I could pick any other player in front of Kane because of what he did for the club, for the shirt, the amount of goals he scored. And for me, as I said, you put him into this team, he gets fed, he scores your goal, he's going to score your goals. But ultimately as well, what I will say is that I think you get goals from Berbatov, Ginola, Gazza, Hoddle and Bale. And if you take corners, Goff, Campbell and King can eat people in the air as well. I think that I've had to pick a team where I can fit the people in. The only person I had to shoehorn in was the right-hand side, because on the right-hand side, I've missed out Chrissy Waddle. I'm not going to tell you he was the greatest, but he used to excite people. Aaron Lennon, he used to excite people. You know, he weren't the greatest footballer for me, but he would excite people on the right-hand side. You got Darren Anderton, I could have picked on the right, but I've shoehorned Gareth Bale in because it's my team and I had to have Bale in there. So that's my 11 for my sins.
Brilliant, Jose. Absolutely fantastic. So we just want to make sure you're happy with your team, Jose, because Mark, once it's removed,
I'm not changing it. It's done. That's my team. That's
done.
That team wins you premierships, and that team wins you European Cups.
Happy days.
As long as you're confident, I'm going to remove it. There you go. It's locked in.
Gone. We're back. Happy days. Brilliant. Fantastic team, Jose. You're chatting away and I keep looking down and I'm thinking, wow. But, you know, people are picking it every time. I'm looking down thinking, well, that'll win something all day long, you know. Brilliant stuff. We'll move on, Jose, to your substitutes. You can just name your subs, say a few words about them. That's great, and I'll mark them down, mate.
Right, so my substitutes are going to be Right, who am I going for my substitutes? I'm going to go for the goalkeeper. Is going to be, it's a toss up between two, but it's weird because you got either the World Cup winner Hugo Lloris or Ray Clemence for me, who is an absolute brilliant goalkeeper. And goalkeepers, as they get older, they mature and get better. And I thought that he was great at Liverpool, but when he came to us, I thought Clemence was an outstanding keeper. So I'm going to side with Ray Clemence as my sub goalkeeper.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Loved Ray.
Defender.
Again, another popular choice.
Yeah,
Defender, I'm not going to miss out. And it's weird because we won a lot of trophies back in the day, and I'm not going to leave him out of my 16. I'm going to put Steve Perriman in as a sub.
Oh, yeah. Stevie
Of course. So he should be.
Yeah.
Record appearance holder.
My next substitute is one of the players that I loved so much in the club, and I couldn't fit him in there. Because of Dembele, I couldn't fit him in there. But I'm going to put in the World Cup winner, and he's on his way to Wembley. It's Ozzy Ardiles. He is going in there. Ardiles has to be in there. Ardiles was close to being in my lineup, but I've decided for Dembele because of the way that I formed the team. But otherwise, Ardiles would have been my third midfielder. So Ardiles is going to be a sub for me. My other sub is going to be, I'm going to go for a player that I left out from the right-hand side. I'm going to go Chrissy Waddle.
Yeah, Chrissy Wads.
That's just so he could sing with Hoddle at half time.
Let's have some Diamond Lights from him, both.
Yeah, let's have some Diamond Lights. Get that going.
My forward, and this is what really tore me, because I think that we've got some unsung heroes up front, and I was siding with Klinsmann, but then the unsung heroes for me are Archibald and Crooks. What they did for us. Archibald and Crooks would score goals for fun, and for me, I'm now going to side with Stevie Archibald, because I thought Archibald was a player before his time. I thought Archibald could play. He's predominantly he could play with both left and right. Archibald could play as a striker. He could play as behind the striker. Archibald was a magnificent player. But for all you youngsters, go back and watch Tottenham from the mid-'80s when we used to win trophies back in them days.
Yeah.
And look at the teams that we had back then. I mean, I'm missing players like Mark Falco hasn't made my team. Mickey Hazard was a decent player, hasn't made my team. Graham Roberts, Paul Miller. I mean, the list is endless. I've got players that have not made it. This is what I was saying. When I looked at it, I could have picked 3 or 4 first 11s.
Graham Roberts was an absolute monster.
But I've got to fit Steve Perriman in somewhere and really have to.
Of course.
He was a winning captain, so I've had to put him somewhere. But that's what I'm saying. It's so difficult, and all your other people that you get doing these shows are going to find that difficulty as well. And like you said, like you both said, Marks, you both said it's different because some of us are older, so we're going to have a far greater selection to think about. So we're talking about we've got 50 odd years of think tank here to pick our teams. Where some people may only have 20 years. So I think for us oldies, it becomes a bit harder. Honestly, it really does become a bit harder because our range is far greater to choose from. So So
any youngsters that have been on, I've just had the Poch team already written out. Thank you, goodbye.
But there you go. So they're my subs. I mean, some of the subs that I've picked there, people may not have picked, but I just think that they've got to be remembered for what they've done as well. They're my 5. They're my 5.
Brilliant, Jose. Fantastic squad you've picked there, Jose. We've got 2 final questions for you that we want to ask you. First of all, who would be the captain of your lifetime team, please?
Shit, that was my team. Who would be my captain?
Yeah. Oh, I've got him. I've got him, Mark. I've got him.
Yeah, I was going to say, like...
I've got a captain and goalkeeper. I've got 2 captains at the back, and I've definitely got a captain in midfield. Do I pick Pat Jennings? Or do I go Glenn Hoddle? Or do I go Ledley King or Richard Gough? It's one of them 4. Fuck.
Yeah, it's all important, all this captaincy thing for the end results, and stuff like that. So, you pick who you want, mate.
I'm going to go left field. I'm going to go for Glenn Hoddle as my captain. because Glenn Hoddle for me, as I said, he was an orchestrator. He went on to become a manager as well. So for me, I think it's got to be Hoddle as my captain.
Okay, that's fine, Jose. And one final question for you, mate.
Yeah.
Who would be the manager of your lifetime?
Can I put one on the bench? I would have.
We have started allowing assistants. If you want to give an honourable mention,
So for me, the team that I've picked with all the Mavericks that I've got in there and all the different formations that you can have and stuff like that, I think there's only one manager that could have done that. And that manager did it for England as well, where he changed the formations in '96. We went to a back three and stuff like that. So the person for me that could best manage these people and change the formations around fluidly would be El Tel.
Look at that. I'd already written it down.
There's no bias here, is there, but for choosing El Tel? Is that a bit of bias there, I see?
No, that's the channel was named. My channel was named after him, El Tel.
Yeah.
So, but then I've also got to say you can't leave the man out. And I know Andrew's won the cup recently, but the person who won most trophies for me in my lifetime at Tottenham was Keith.
Yeah, the general.
So
the general.
For me, if I was allowed to have like we've done with players, you're allowed to have subs. If I was allowed to have an assistant or whatever, then my
we started allowing that. We have started allowing that.
No, it sounds weird, but because he's won more than anyone else. But I would have him as my assistant only because of the system, the formation, the rejigging. Venables was the master at it. Venables again was a great player, but before my time, so I couldn't pick Venables. It's before my time at Tottenham, but as a manager, he could probably get the best out of changing the formations out of this team.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, brilliant, Jose. So you've done a lot, mate. You've got through it. We've got through it. Thank you to you, sir, for coming on. We really appreciate it. Please make sure, everyone, that you get over to Jose at El Tel Cockerel and subscribe.
Links will be in the title and the description.
Be in the title and the description. Thanks, Mark, for doing your typing. We really appreciate it and your input into the program. And please like and subscribe to us. Hit the notification bell. This series is going to be going on for a few weeks. Give you all something to watch every day, 5 p.m. on premieres. Great stuff, Jose. Again, thank you so much for coming. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.